So hey everyone, and welcome back. So it's time to take a look at the new Nintendo Switch games for this week. Now I've got a great lineup of 9 games coming out this week. However, at the same time, it's a special lineup because there's actually no major franchises releasing a game, and they're pretty much all indie games. So hopefully you'll find a game that you'll enjoy for this week. Just remember, if you are liking the video, to hit that like button. So our first game for today is going to be Godzilla Voxel Wars that is releasing on February 19th. So there's a good chance by the time you're watching this video, the game might already be out, or worst comes to worst, coming out tomorrow. Now this game will be selling for $14.99, and it's actually a level-based strategy RPG featuring none other than Godzilla in a pixel art form. It actually looks super interesting. I really would like to try out this game. However, I do have mixed feelings on whether it will deliver a long-term satisfying package. So let's take a look at the trailer and then we'll talk more about the game. So as I say always, if the trailers do end up getting muted, it's simply because there is copyrighted music. You can check out all the links down below for the full trailers if I do manage having to mute some. Personally, I love strategy games as well. It all depends on how deep it's going to get. So basically you have to defeat all the enemies within a set number of turns or you fail the level. So it doesn't really feel like Godzilla is going to be at risk of dying all that much. It's more like you have to figure it out within a certain level, a number of turns. We also have guest characters like Mothra, Mechagodzilla, all the best ones from the old movies. And once again, map editor. Pretty interesting overall. Which is why I said that I have a fair deal of interest in this game for this week. So I do think if you're a fan of strategy games, you might want to wait for like a first impressions video or a quick review or something like that. But I do think this one could be a pretty decent pickup, and $14.99, if the game offers, I would say, above like 4 or 5 hours of good fun gameplay with an increasing challenge level, could be a pretty decent pickup for this week. One thing you'll see that I'm liking about the list of games this week is the pricing is actually pretty decent. Nothing is going too crazy or too expensive, but Mechagodzilla can definitely be a consideration for this week. Now, let's jump into our next game. So next we have, my pronunciation is probably going to be all over the place, but we have Desvelado, which is coming out on February 20th and will be selling for $9.99. Now, the game does have a pre-release discount currently of $8.99. Now, this is a sort of puzzle precision platformer, but I am in love with the art style. It has a really awesome little art style behind it, and it seems to have some pretty comedical cutscenes. So let's take a look at the trailer and you'll get a better idea of the gameplay. So it's a vampire that you have to get him to bed on time, apparently, by turning out all the lights. Don't worry, we're going to be getting some gameplay. Like I said, I love the art style. It looks so super funky, and it actually seems also to be very fluid in the motions. And it's actually been a while that I haven't been like enticed by a precision platformer or precision puzzle platformer. So Desvelado at only $10, once again, for the beautiful art style it's presenting, the levels that look interesting and varied, I do think this one could actually deliver a pretty satisfying option for someone looking for one of these games. And like I said, it's been a while that we haven't had a really good precision platformer that's sort of, you know, above those like really cheap $5 like rehashes of older concepts. So I do think that this one could actually pierce that veil and give us something really decent for this week. So hopefully it will deliver. We can always, once again, I'll say it repeatedly for this week, but I would say every list, a game almost on this week's list, you might want to wait for a review or at least a first impressions video or gameplay or something like that, just to make sure that the games do deliver on a pretty decent experience on the length side. Now, let's jump into our next one. Next, we have X Out Resurfaced. Now, this is the remake of a retro shoot-'em-up. It was originally released like 35 years ago. However, it's been remastered, and I actually really liked what I'm seeing. It's coming to us from Issen as well. They remaster a lot of shoot-'em-ups. I'm not going to lie. This is like the company that has a shoot-'em-up every almost 2 or 3 weeks. But every now and then, they really remaster a pretty great one. And this one just might be it. Now, by the way, this one is also coming out on February 20th. It will have a sales price of $19.99. However, it currently also has a pre-release discount, dropping it to $17.99. Let's take a quick look at the gameplay, but it's pretty straightforward. It's a shmup, a shoot 'em up. If you like these games, I do think this is it looks like a pretty good remaster, and I've actually never played this one before, which also sort of got me interested. That's the retro version, and that's the modernized. It's obviously set in an underwater type environment, but I really like that you can actually personalize the ships. I don't know if you guys saw, I'll show it again at the end of the trailer, but you actually get to select like weapon selections with the different ships, which is actually something I really like, and not every shmup allows you to do. So unfortunately, we've got like some overlays because obviously this is another YouTube video. So we're going to stop here because we're not seeing much. But like I said, what really got me interested is this screen here, where you get to be able to choose between the different submarines. You get to choose between the different cannons, upgrades, satellites. Basically, I really like shmups that allow you to personalize your loadout because I think it makes a huge difference. And it adds that little extra touch of replayability that you really need for these games. So once again, if you're looking for a retro style shmup, I do think that at $20, this one could be a pretty decent pickup. It is a little bit expensive. I said that most of the games this week would be properly priced. I do think this one would have had to be at the $15 price point because the shoot 'em up market on the Switch is so jam-packed with titles and titles that are really aggressively priced that this one is maybe a tad too expensive. Okie doke. So with that out of the way, let's jump into our next one. Now, our next one is my biggest question mark for this week. It is Star of Providence. Okay? And I actually have 2 trailers that we're going to look at because basically one trailer is like a standard trailer and the other trailer is a release date trailer, but it's really weird because it's like the guy was streaming it's like he took basically a caption from his stream and just announced his release date on his caption of the stream and turned that into a trailer. But I want to show you this one, and basically it's another shoot 'em up. However, this one is a roguelike shoot 'em up, and it's being published by the same publisher that brought us Animal Well, which definitely put it very high on my radar. Animal Well is an absolutely amazing Metroidvania, and the fact that they're now publishing their second game ever, Star of Providence, has me extremely interested because the company sort of like it is worth now taking a look at all the games they're releasing. Hopefully it's going to be another hit, but let's take a look. The game looks super interested. It's a shmup, but it's set in very small arenas. And like I said, it has a rogue-like gameplay style. I love the pixel art as well. So that is the first trailer. We're going to look at the second one because, like I said, it was so weird and funky that I definitely wanted to look at the second one because it's pure like he pulled out a part of his stream and said, let's make a trailer out of it.
That's coming out. It's coming out. Let me kill this guy. It's definitely is coming out. Oh, shit. This guy's an asshole.
This is the trailer.
The game is definitely coming out. When does it come out? You know, that's a good question. Let me play this part, though. This is a really good weapon. When does the game come out? Well,
and I find it actually gives some even better view of the trailer. February 20th. So, like I said, I do think that this one is looking really interesting. And although I really like the previous retro shmup, if I had to buy just one for this week, I would go with Star of Providence. And that's also why I said the other one felt expensive, because this one is probably has even more original gameplay and it's being sold for only $14.99. So honestly, I do think this is going to be a great, a possible great game. I'm going to say possible great game, okay? But the fact that it's coming to us from the publisher that gave us Animal Well, let's just say that this game is extremely high on my probable list for gameplay on Thursday this week. Sorry, the stream is going to be on Thursday, by the way, not Friday. But other than that, we will have to wait to get that game in hand to make sure. However, there is another game that is challenging for my Thursday night stream, and it is the next one we're going to look at, which is Ninja Issen, which is releasing this one also on February 20th, and it's also going to be selling for $14.99. Now, this is an action platformer that, yes, looks extremely challenging. So, I know a lot of my stream likes to count my deaths and see me die. This seems like a game that that if I do play, I will be dying a ton. But at the same time, the gameplay looks extremely addicting, fast-paced, and very interesting. And I do think that if you're into action games, this is going to be probably the front runner for this week. So let's take a quick look at the trailer, and we'll talk more about the game. Like, it's giving me slight Cyber Shadow vibes, but obviously with a much, like, less polished pixel art, if you will. I'm also really liking the cutscenes. I know it's only cutscenes, but I find that pixel art cutscenes in these retro style games really make the games. It started with Ninja Gaiden, the original on the NES, and I love games that just bring it back with those high res pixel art cutscenes. This is a fairly longer trailer for this week, but it's worth it because, like I said, the further it gets, I think the more funky the gameplay looks. I love this boss fight. So Ninja Issen The Scroll of Dimension. Yeah, I forgot that little under that subtitle there. It's The Scroll of Dimension. Releasing on, like I said, the date here isn't correct because this is a Steam release, but on Switch it's going to be February 20th for $14.99. I think if you're into action games, this one is definitely worth the attention. My chat is telling me to stream this one, please, just because they want to see me die a freaking bunch. But there is a slight chance as well. I just want to throw it out there for anyone watching this that is interested in watching a stream. We might also be playing Guns of Fury because that game came out last week and it seems so amazing that everyone, I've had a lot of comments asking me to play it for this week. So it is very strongly a consideration on my list. Okay, so we have that out of the way. Next, we have another really interesting release for this week, and I would say it's probably my second top game potential-wise for this week, and that is Jupiter Hell. So, by the way, my top game was the one we just saw. This one is probably the one that has me, would be second on my list. The shmup that we looked at would be third, the one earlier, the one that came from the Animal Well developer, but this one is called Jupiter Hell. It's coming out on February 20th as well. The only thing I don't like is the sales price of $24.99 feels a bit high for the game. But this is basically a Doom-inspired turn-based action game that has a roguelike gameplay system once again. But it is turn-based roguelike, like the traditional roguelike genre. I love the top-down perspective as well, and I love the gritty sort of combat style that, as they said, is Doom-inspired. So let's take a look at this, and like I said, we'll talk about it more. I love turn-based strategy shooters. It just feels right. It always reminds me of XCOM. Even though this is probably going to be a very different like gameplay style, it still reminds me of XCOM. So the trailer is not all that long, but we can definitely see some really good gameplay. Now, I'm really scared this one I'm going to have to mute the music because it does feel like this is going to be a copyrighted song. But I love the gritty, violent art style. And I think if they can pull off the, roguelike genre well, the turn-based and strategy gameplay, this can end up being a really great title. Once again, I would say wait for a review, however, because I am a bit worried that possibly the action is going to get samey. But I think they're going to deliver. I'm betting on them delivering, but I would still say wait for a impressions video or at least or a small review. Okay. Next, we are getting to one of my most endearing games of the week. It is called Marron's Day. Sorry about that. Marron's Day, which is also releasing on February 20th. Now, this is going to have another budget release price of $9.99. Now, this is an old school RPG that seems very much based on the original Pokemon type aesthetic. So, it is a Game Boy aesthetic game. And if you know me, you've been watching the channel for a while, you know I have a soft spot for Game Boy-inspired games because I used to love playing my Game Boy as a kid. I played Pokemon for hours nonstop. So when you got a good Game Boy-style game, you got me immediately, and especially that they're using, like I said, a Pokemon aesthetic, although it seems to be like a more casual RPG with only some slight combat. But let's take a look at the trailer, and this is going to be a hit or miss trailer for most of you. If you have interest, I think this trailer is going to hit home. If you don't, you're just going to be like, next. I think you can see the Pokemon inspiration here. It's not a direct one-to-one aesthetic for Pokemon, but you can definitely see that it's the same overall setup and the way the gameplay plays out. Even when you're going to see the combat, although it's your character doing the combat, the positioning will be the same and whatnot. You'll have some puzzles to solve, which, once again, throwback directly. I just think it's going to be a bite-sized adventure that's going to be extremely satisfying, although I don't think it's going to be a very long game. Oh, and here we see the combat, but they're giving us all, once again, we see a bit of the combat here at the end. So you get to choose actions, and then, like I said, it looks like Pokemon-like combat with your two characters here. And we're getting a lot of overlays tonight, but it is what it is. Here we can take a look at the combat without the overlays. So you have your two characters positioned like Pokemon, combat style. They choose an action, you choose an action. Like I said, I think it's going to be one of those games that if you have interest, it's going to hit home very, very hard. But I would say it's a budget release for this week. This one has it's hitting me. I have a very high interest for this game. I would like to try it out. It's not going to be a stream game, however, but it most likely will be a game I will try to play on the side. Now we have 2 games left for this week. Our before last game is Lone Fungus. Now Lone Fungus is releasing on February 21st, and it'll have a sales price of $19.99. Now this game is an action Metroidvania. Now, this game looks extremely interesting. I like the art style. I love the mushroom designs. I don't know what it is about mushrooms, but mushroom designs always get me. There is one thing I do want to mention, however. If you've been watching the channel since the beginning of the year, we have been receiving so many high-quality Metroidvanias that I was a little bit hesitant to put this game on the list. Not because it doesn't look good, but I don't think that this will be a Metroidvania on the same level as something like Ender Magnolia or Laika, or even, what did we play before that? That was amazing. We played another one right before that that was crazy amazing. But basically right now we are getting some stellar Metroidvanias. So I do feel it hard to suggest this game if you haven't played all those others, because they are so freaking fantastic. Okay. However, if you've played those other games, or if simply you're just really enticed by the art style here, it could be a strong suggestion. The one thing I would say as well is this one's being sold for $19.99. Personally, if I was going to spend that price, I would buy Ender Magnolia at $24.99. Like, it's very in a price point where it's competing directly, and even Laika is, if I'm not mistaken, $19.99. But nonetheless, the game still looks extremely interesting. Let's watch the trailer, and it gets better as it goes along. Because like I said at the start, the combat seemed a little straightforward and too simple. But as the trailer gets further on, the combat will develop. Obviously very much Hollow Knight inspired in its combat method. The map seems pretty complex. See what I mean? Like, this platforming section really impressed me. Because at first, like, the movement seemed a little simple, but then this part really started to impress me. But it's obviously very Hollow Knight inspired. Like, just jumping with a slash like that is almost exactly like Hollow Knight. Yeah, so like I said, I decided to showcase it because there were some very impressive parts to this trailer. And if the game performs well and hits well, it could be a very, very good game. However, the one thing I would warn is that before spending $20 on this, Look at the other Metroidvanias that came out this year. We are flooded with amazing Metroidvanias right now. So the one thing I would say is if a review doesn't come out and this doesn't hit like a 8.59 out of 10, check, because since the beginning of the year, we've easily hit like 3 or 4 9 out of 10s or higher. And yes, even Nine Souls, which came out at the end of last year, amazing chef's kiss of games for the Metroidvania genre. So, but nonetheless, Lone Fungus, definitely on my radar. I will be keeping an eye on this game. And worst comes to worst, this will be an inclusion in eShop. If it turns out to be a good game, this will definitely be an inclusion in eShop deals once it gets like a little bit of a discount. Okay, and our last game, but not our least, at least hopefully not, we have Lulu's Temple, which is also releasing on February 21st. And this is the most budget game for this week because it's a price of only $4.99. Now this looks like a pixel art adventure game, 2D action adventure game. I really like the art style. I really like the presentation. The budget price is worrying me because although like I love to have a game cheap, when it's $5, I am worried that maybe it'll end up being a bit generic, and that's why it's maybe not more expensive. But at the same time, it could just be a developer trying to release a game at an extremely low price to make their mark, to get people to try the game, to take a chance on it. Sort of like Hollow Knight did with their game, because $15 for that game was an absolutely steal of a release. But let's now look at Lulu's Temple, and we'll see what we're dealing with. Like, the action seems frantic and fast. The whole, like, fact that the whole screen is always blacked out except the section right around you definitely has, like, its moment. Like, it creates a sort of tension, in my opinion. But like I said, I'm loving the art style. It's a pet peeve for Darkness. Yeah, I can see some people though not liking it because of that very same fact. And there we have it, Lulu's Temple. So I do think, however, if you're looking for like a budget title to take a chance on, this one could actually deliver some pretty crazy quality for only $5. Like, it's hard to hit lower than a $5 price point at full price. And from the pixel art that we're seeing here in the action, if the game manages to deliver a good feeling gameplay, like where the controls are responsive and everything, this could actually be a hidden gem for this week. That was pretty much it for this week's of great new Switch games. So let me know in the comments down below what would be your top pick for this week. Also, if you think I missed out on any new games for this week, once again, let me know in the comments down below. Now, don't forget on the way out to hit that like button. And as usual, I'll see you in my next video.